Should I go for a high rental yield or should I look for the best tenant out there? What are your views on it, in terms of who's paying more or who can be a long-term sustainable renter?
Depending on the investor's portfolio, what are they trying to achieve? So it's no point having A-grade properties where the yields are low and you're struggling to make those repayments. You've got to be able to hold it for that period of time. If you don't, what's the point?
Welcome to another edition of Property Investor Series. My name is Asim Barani. I'm a mortgage broker and your host for today. Today we're going to talk about a very important aspect of property investment which often gets forgotten, which is property management. And our guest today is George Bornyan from the Avenue Property Co., who's been a seasoned investor himself and now a property manager. Welcome, George, to our property series.
Thank you, Asim.
Thanks for coming in. Look, let's start off from the beginning. What is a property manager and what are the roles of a property manager?
Some people perceive property management as just collecting rent. It actually goes beyond that. By following the property manager's advice, let's call it, doing all the safety checks, doing all the maintenance as required. Sometimes it feels like, you're putting in consistently a bit of money towards it, but let's face it, even your own home, there's always things that you need to do, the upkeep of a property. Nothing stays new. It's just investors need to have that in their, psychology of understanding and accepting that there is the journey of investment as the property gets older, of course. The cost of retaining that property will slowly increase. But the good news, on the other hand, is that all those expenses are tax deductible.
Yeah.
So that's a positive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As investors, my clients generally call me and say, I've got this property now. And what about the rental yield? Should I go for a high rental yield or should I look for the best tenant out there? What are your views on it, in terms of who's paying more or who can be a long-term sustainable renter?
Yeah. Look, as a rule of thumb, it's one or the other. So if you want good rental yields, you're not going to have the capital growth. So depending on the investor's portfolio, what are they trying to achieve? The way I approach it is to have a bit of both. It's no point having, say, A-grade properties where the yields are low and you're struggling to make those repayments in the hope of, they say property doubles every 7 to 10 years, but you've got to be able to hold it for that period of time. If you don't, what's the point? So I think it's a blend of both is good to have. So cash flow with a good yield, but on the flip side, you've got one or two that you're, it's more lower return, but the capital gains is going to be more.
So show me the money is sometimes not the right answer. It's somewhere in the middle, having a sustainable tenant and also paying the right dollars for that amount. And maintenance and compliance also becomes a big issue when buying an investment property. How do you manage that long term for investor clients?
The advice would be not to purchase something that's, a bit out there, quirky, because the maintenance is going to be high. The return is going to be very low, and we're only targeting then specific types of tenants. As an investor, it's best to go, keep it very simple, so that you get a wider range of tenancies that'll go in there, and the cost of maintaining is absolute minimum.
And when you walk through a property to inspect, let's think about tenants' point of view, because that's what investors want to see to get the right tenants in place.
Cool.
So to get the right tenants, what are some of the aspects or what are some of the things you need to tick off when buying an investment property? Okay, this will be really appealing to a tenant. That'll get you more attraction from tenants.
Yeah. So the way we look at it is it's basically how you and I would want to live in a house, because tenants no different. They're still, people like us. So basically comfort is the main thing, meaning heating, cooling, and even if it's an older place, but at least has to be nice and presentable and clean and functional. They're the sort of things that you and I would would want. So it's no different. An outdoor space is ideal as well. People look for that. And then convenient to transport schools, depending on the age bracket of the tenant and what their requirements are. So basic things like how you would, if you were to purchase a property, the things that you would look for, the tenant's looking for the same thing.
Yeah. You have investors who are moving into the property market for the first time, or you would have investors who are seasoned investors, probably already got 3 or 4 properties or more, and they have a portfolio. What advice you would give to a seasoned investor in terms of property management side of things? What should they look for?
And something we touched on before, it would be good to have a single property manager to manage the portfolio. There's a lot of advantages there because you get to know the client gets to know the property manager, they get to know your portfolio in total and what your expectations are, and there's a better communication rather than dealing with 3 or 4 different property managers. And then with that, you're dealing with one application per se, so you get to know that intimately. It just works better, provided it's all in the same state, obviously not interstate or regional, then you've got no choice. But, ideally, it'll good to have one property manager servicing your portfolio.
So now just going to the final, most important question. Someone who's getting into the market for the first time as an investor, what advice you will give it to them?
Again, speak to your mortgage broker. Obviously, that's very important. See what you can afford. To be on a safe side, put at least 4 weeks worth of non-income, so make sure you can sustain it. And then speak to a property manager even before you buy the investment property to get the advice, see what you're thinking, see if it actually correlates to what the goal you're trying to achieve. All of this is free advice as well. It's not going to cost you anything. It's just like you speak to a good broker, speak to a good property manager, so we can help you achieve that goal, because everyone's goal is different and there's different product for different goals.
That's great, George. And I always tell my investor clients who are just getting into the property market, get a good team in place, have a good broker, have a good accountant, have a good property manager, good real estate agent. So good teamwork makes good dream work.
Absolutely.
So look, thank you, George. It was good property insight. So property management is not just collecting rent, it's much more than that. And thanks for giving that insight to our viewers. Appreciate you having part of the property series.
My pleasure. Thanks, Asim.